making our way over here, and I'll start by saying that we're going to have this ceremony inside, but then we're going to go outside for the actual flag raising. So just so you all know what the order of events is. But first of all, I just want to say good morning and welcome everybody to what was supposed to be a beautiful day. It is still a beautiful day, and the rain outside is just Mother Nature's way of saying that she wants to put a rainbow outside. So that's how we view today. 2019 is a milestone year because 50 years ago, the Stonewall riots took place, which many consider the catalyst for the LGBTQ movement. And 2019 is also a special year for me because I just celebrated my 10th wedding anniversary to my husband, Jason. And while I'm full of happiness and pride thinking about those last 10 years as a married man, I have different emotions when I think about the last 50 years since the Stonewall riots. 50 years ago, there were few establishments that welcomed and served the LGBTQ community. In fact, the FBI, the State Department, the Post Office, and even some local and state governments tracked LGBTQ people, shut down establishments where they were served and where they congregated just for being gay. And it was up until the 1970s that the American Psychiatric Association listed homosexuality as a mental disorder. Now, let's fast forward to the 1990s as I was growing up as a young adult, and that was the height of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. The Ellen DeGeneres show was canceled abruptly after she came out as a lesbian, and I personally didn't know many openly gay individuals. I was 22 years old when I came out after graduating from college, when I told my friends and my family. And I decided to come out on January 1st, on New Year's Day. And so all of my conversations when I came out went sort of like this. Happy New Year. Did you make a New Year's resolution? I would ask. Yes, no, depends, people would respond. Did you? They would ask. I did. Well, what was it? They'd reply. To be true to myself. Well, what's that mean? It means I'm gay. And that has been my guiding principle ever since then, to be true to myself. And that is why I've been living my life openly and honestly for everybody to see. Yeah. And from my time as a journalist at CNN to serving as the executive director of the youth nonprofit to now serving as the first openly LGBTQ member of the county council, I've continued staying true to myself. And it's my hope that as an openly gay elected official, I can help create an environment where parents, friends, family members, teachers, and others feel safe being true to themselves and accepting others for who they are. And that is especially true and important for members of our transgender community and the LGBT communities of color. Since 2015, there have been 49 hate crimes reported here in Montgomery County involving sexual orientation or gender bias, a frequency that has only increased over the last 4 years. While we're here in Montgomery County, we've made great strides in equality and representing our LGBTQ residents. It is our transgender community, particularly transgender youth, Black transgender women, and LGBTQ non-white individuals who are more likely to experience violence than any of their LGBTQ peers. And I want you to look around you today because the LGBTQ community is tremendously diverse. Racial identities, age, immigration status, gender expression, socioeconomic status. The issues that affect the LGBTQ community are issues that affect our society. And that's why it's also important today to have the rainbow flag and the transgender flag be up here today because representation matters. And having honest conversations, learning from each other is how we create a truly inclusive community. And it's how we positively change hearts and minds. And while it's been 50 years since the Stonewall riots, the work that remains is significant. There are still many people in our community that are rejected by their friends and their family. And it's my hope that as we make history here today in Montgomery County by flying the pride flag on our official flag post, we will signal to all LGBTQ residents that we embrace you and we love you. And with that, I'd like to bring up County Executive Marc Elrich.
I'm really happy to be here today and look forward to lifting the flag outside. I was looking out my window because nobody told me this was down in the lobby. And I'm thinking, where is the crowd and where is the flag? So I was glad I found it down here. Actually, I was told it was down here eventually. I listened. So this is really important. I was on the city council in Tacoma Park, and I was just talking to Bruce Williams, the openly former gay mayor of Tacoma Park. And we were on the council in 1991, and we passed the first domestic partnership legislation. And we did that because people had come to us and said, you know, my loved one is in a hospital, and I want to go see that person, and the hospital says, you're not authorized, because their parents say, you know, it's for family and only, and you're not family. And so we decided we'd create a domestic registry so that if you're family, and it's not, doesn't have to be defined what was then the traditional way. It's the family you want to be in with the person you want to be in a family with. And that was early legislation, and there were people who were not happy with what we did, but it also didn't create a major firestorm. And I think, you know, we have continued to move on. There was an article in the paper the other day about what a rapid transformation this has been in some ways for, you know, a major social justice issue. Would that every other issue transform with the same speed. But this is important, and I'm glad I'm standing here, and I'm glad I'm with people who believe this is the right thing to do, and I'm glad I'm in Montgomery County where we can do this, and most people understand that this is the right thing to do. But these issues still go on. I was, not so long ago, talking with a recruiter, not about any particular person, but the person actually asked me about if a candidate were minority and gay, would that be an issue? And I'm like, why would I care? And I just wish nobody ever had to ask that question. Again, it shouldn't be an issue, it shouldn't be anything anybody cares about. You love who you love, you have a relationship with people you want to have a relationship with. That's the only thing that should matter. And nothing else needs to be said about that. So again, I support having the work here. I'll be happy to go outside and raise the flag. And I want people to see that Montgomery County is the kind of place where we respect everybody and we honor the relationships and choices that everybody makes. And that's one of the things that make this county special. So thank you.
I'd like to invite my colleagues up. First up, Council President Nancy Navarro.
Woo! Hello, everybody. I want to thank Councilmember Evan Glass for making such an extraordinarily important move here today. It is amazing because these type of ceremonies really mean a lot. And I gotta tell you, this is symbolic of so many things that we have accomplished together. I see Delegate Cullison, and I cannot fail but to remember, as I was a member of the Montgomery County Board of Education, as we were looking at how to modify our curriculum. Do you remember that fight in terms of a particular sentence regarding the fact that, you know, homosexuality was an innate condition, and that was like a major issue that was very controversial, and we were able to work together to get that going. My very first piece of legislation at the county council was to make sure the Montgomery County government offered benefits to domestic partners. And so we have made these kinds of very important, you know, steps forward, and we celebrated gay marriage absolutely here, and we fought so hard. But as has been stated, we need to remember that our brothers and sisters, our cousins, uncles, aunts, our parents, all of them who are LGBTQ are still struggling with a lot of very critical barriers. And so Today it's an important day because it reminds us of our commitment, but we have a long way to go. And there are many of you in the audience that have a lot of very important suggestions that we need to take up at the state level or locally to make sure we pass legislation, to make sure that we fund certain programs, to make sure that we are actually doing what we need to do when we look at other jurisdictions like DC, who happen to, in many cases, be ahead of us in some areas. We need to get going and make that a reality. So thank you, congratulations. And I was coming up here, I'm like, where's the music? I can't do a Pride Week without the music, so let's make sure that we fix that very soon.
Note to self for next year, thank you. Council Vice President Sidney Katz.
Well, thank you very much, and thank everyone for being here. First off, we all deserve to give Evan a second round of applause, please, for being here. And please give yourselves a round of applause for being here and for reminding everyone that Montgomery County stands together. I'm a strong believer that we're one family. And Evan mentioned, people that are in the families that they have concerns when someone comes out. But we're one family, and we shouldn't have concerns. We should stand together and understand, thank goodness we are different. Montgomery County is the most diverse place in America. We have of the diverse cities, the places in the top 10, we have 4 of them. And so we stand very proudly of that. And when I was the mayor of Gaithersburg, we were the #1 most diverse place. And I was very proud of that as well. But today we celebrate. Today is a day of pride. And I know that Evan told everybody that they get 1 minute, and he's standing right here breathing down my neck. And I appreciate that, I do. But I sincerely want everyone to understand that in Montgomery County, one family stands together. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Fred Rice.
Well, thank you so much, Evan, and I just want to take the perspective of our children and just take a moment to talk about our children in our schools, our children in our community, and just say life is tough enough. We don't need to put on them the burden of being challenged with being who they are, with loving who they want to love, with identifying how they want to identify. As the father of a young girl who had a young lady come over the house who became my daughter's best friend, who recently in the past 6 months has decided that she wants to identify as a young boy instead, we respect and embrace that. And I'm so happy to welcome and open my home and ensure that she feels that now he feels welcome and loved and that nothing has changed. He is now one of my daughter's best friends. That is what we as a community need to do, because I know that it was difficult for him to make that decision. It was difficult for him in trying to figure out whether or not people would accept him. And we've done that, and everyone should do that. That's what this is about, making sure that we don't stand in the way of people's happiness. That is truly about being an embracive and inclusive community. So I want to thank Councilmember Glass and all of you for being here, and I want you to remember, as you go home and you talk to folks, just think about what it would be if you couldn't be with the person that you love because somebody else said that they thought it wasn't right. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Next up, Councilmember Hans Riemer.
Thank you, Councilmember Evan Glass. You have brought so much to the County Council, and I'm really excited by this initiative. This is something that Montgomery County needs. When you look at the great communities in America, they have a strong, thriving gay culture. And Montgomery County's gay culture, I think, has been out of sight perhaps for too long. And you're helping bring it forward and make it more visibly part of who we are. And when we are embracing fully everyone in this community and valuing everyone's contributions, then we're going to succeed unlike anything else. So I'm really pleased to be here. I thank the county executive for joining in on this. And it's an exciting new day of publicly celebrating and embracing the LGBTQ community in a new way from the County Council. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Andrew Friesen.
Thank you so much to Councilmember Glass for hosting this and for putting this together. And it's such an honor to serve with you every day. And today really makes me so proud to be a Montgomery County lifelong resident. This is exactly who we are. This is what we stand for. We are making this statement today, as we should make every day, that we are only the community we want to be when everybody in our community can be who they are and can be accepted for who they are and can love who they are. And that's a statement we're making today as a community, as Montgomery County, really reflecting who we've always been. I remember not too long ago, I was a student advocate at University of Maryland and working with the Pride Alliance. They are fighting for partner benefits at the state level. And to think how far we've come with marriage equality and the work that we've done here locally in Montgomery County is extraordinary, but to think about how far we are from where we need to be in changing hearts and minds and making sure that at the elected level, at the government level, and at the community level, that we are leading by example and making sure that we are sending the message to every one of our residents, to every one of our children, that you should love who you are, you should be who you are, you should accept who you are, and that you are valued here, you are accepted here, and you are loved here. Is Councilmember Duran here?
Oh, right behind me, come on up.
He's used to seeing me on his right because I sit next to his right at council. I also want to congratulate Councilmember Glass and thank the county executive for doing this. It's really exciting. You know, us newbies to the council have come on with a lot of energy and excitement, and really the goal of making sure everyone in Montgomery County is represented and everyone's voice is valued and heard and accepted. And one thing we know, if you look around the country and around the world, freedoms require vigilance. And if we don't continually renew and celebrate the great diversity of people and lifestyles in this county and in this state and in this world, things can be rolled back. And so that's one of the reasons this is so very important. I don't take it for granted that my daughters go to school and they go, Anya's other mom or her mom, and it's just nothing, it's no big deal. But that is because of all the work that's happened over the last several decades, and we need to keep that going and make sure that we renew and celebrate the diversity of our county. And so I'm so just thankful to sit next to and to work with Councilmember Glass, who's just worked so hard at making sure that all segments of our community are heard. I just attended with him the LGBTQIA student forum, which was very well attended, where we heard some stories from our students, and we have work to do to make sure everyone feels safe and accepted in bathrooms and other things. But this is really about celebrating who we are, and I really look forward to raising this flag, and just want to congratulate my colleagues and congratulate Councilmember Glass for all the work. So thank you very much.
And the last of our 9 council members is Gabe Allen.
All right, well, thank you, Evan, for your leadership and especially your friendship. It has been such a joy serving with you, and getting to know you and Jason has been a real thrill over the last year and a half. About 2 months ago, Council President Navarro and Councilmember Glass and I hosted a group of 20 LGBTQ asylum seekers, newly arrived immigrants that had come to the United States from Central America, escaping almost certain death, to come to a community where they knew they would be more accepted, more loved, and more supported. And so they came through Casa Ruby in the District of Columbia to a community that is here to embrace them, to love them, to support them. We have come a long way, but as we all know, we still have a long way to go to ensuring that our programs are entirely inclusive and that the training and the support provided by the staff members that carries out those programs reflects the diversities of the communities we need to serve and is there to help support in a unique and special way our community as a whole. I am proud to stand up here with all of my colleagues and our entire community in Montgomery County today, and I look forward to the hard work ahead to ensure that we remain an inclusive community and provide as much support as we possibly can. Thank you.
Council President Navarro joked about there not being any music, but it is so warm in here, I feel like I've been dancing all night long. So we're almost done, right? So I would like to invite some of the Trailblazers who will be honoring to work their way up here so we can start to honor you some more. First up, Mayor Bruce Williams. You want to come on up here? Mayor Bruce Williams was the first openly gay elected official in Maryland's history. He began serving on the Tacoma Park City Council in 1993 and served in that position until 2007, when he was then elected mayor, and which he served until 2015. And while serving the residents of Tacoma Park, Bruce amended the city code to be more inclusive to the LGBTQ community, and he led the efforts to extend healthcare benefits to same-sex partners and employees of local governments in the state, as our county executive and his then colleague on the council, Marc Elrich, mentioned. He was also the lead plaintiff in Williams versus Glendenning, which removed the sodomy statute from Maryland state law. He received the David and Elizabeth Skull Award from the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments for being an outstanding elected official, and I'm honored to give him a certificate as one of our homegrown Trailblazers today. Next up, Ingrid Duran. Ingrid, where are you? Right here. Oh, I need to start looking left. Ingrid Duran is the CEO and co-founder of D&P Creative Strategies, one of the few firms focused on representing members of the LGBTQ and female communities by engaging in corporate relations, legislative advocacy, and philanthropic efforts. A Harvard graduate, Duran she started working on Capitol Hill for the House Banking Committee, and then served as the director of DC's Office for the National Association of Latino elected and appointed officials, where she advocated for the needs of the Latino community. Duran then served as President Bill Clinton's Advisory Committee on HIV and AIDS, and was the first gay woman to serve on the Human Rights Campaign's Board of Directors. And she is a longtime ally of the LGBTQ community and received so many awards and recognitions, and I'm proud to say that she is a resident of Montgomery County. So thank you very much. And Kathlyn Pinot. Kathlyn Pinot is the CEO and co-founder of D&P Creative Strategies. You might make a connection there. She is also a Harvard graduate, and Kathlyn started her career on Capitol Hill working in the office of then Senator Jeff Bingaman. After working in Washington, she joined the National Council of La Raza as the nation's premier Latino rights advocacy organization. And she's overseen large multi-million-dollar educational reform projects and served on the boards of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, and GLAAD. A civil rights leader and advocate, Kathlyn has received multiple awards and currently runs a political action committee, Poder PAC. And while Kathlyn and Ingrid work together, they also share a life together as a married couple here in Montgomery County. So, thank you. Armando Truel before the media now. So Armando Truel is an award-winning journalist in the Washington, D.C. region, and since 1992 he's been working as a journalist and as an NPR senior reporter with WAMU in 2011, a position he held for 8 years. And during his tenure, he covered LGBTQ and social justice issues in the United States and abroad. And before joining NPR, Armando worked at UPI Spanish Radio, Univision, TV Azteca, WUSA 9, and he has been recognized by the National Association for Hispanic Journalists and was named a Distinguished Immigrant by the American Immigration Council. So thank you very much for all that you continue to do. That's your commitment. Next up, Ezra. Ezra Town, where are you? Yes. Ezra Town is an activist in the DC metro area, and for the last 17 years has been an activist and is currently a stay-at-home parent doing volunteer work in the spare time. And Ezra facilitates the support group Maryland Trans Unity, co-organizes Montgomery County's annual observance of the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and does consulting on issues related to the transgender community here in Montgomery County. Ezra has also worked professionally for several organizations committed to LGBTQ, feminist, and anti-racist organizations, including the National LGBTQ Task Force, NARAL Pro-Choice America, and the LGBTQ Victory Fund, and also the National Organization for Women. Ezra is invested in creating a network of support, events, and better local government representation for policies for transgender people here in Montgomery County, and is hosting a big event at the end of the month as well. Right? Thank you very much, Ezra. And last but not least, Senator Madaleno. Rich, are you here? He is hiding behind the flag. Senator Madaleno is currently Montgomery County's Director of the Office of Management and Budget. And in 2002, he became the first openly LGBTQ individual elected to Maryland's General Assembly, where he represented District 18 in the House of Delegates and in the State Senate. And while in Annapolis, he helped lead the efforts to pass marriage equality and the Fairness for All Marylanders Act in 2014, among other pieces of legislation. But the Fairness for Marylanders Act in 2014 prohibited discrimination based on gender identity and expression in the areas of employment, housing, and other public accommodations. And a few weeks ago, we passed the budget here in Montgomery County, so you have lots of reasons to celebrate today. So, thank you very much. And with that, I would like to bring back up the county executive to help read the proclamation with me. Proclamation, Montgomery County, Maryland. Whereas June is Pride Month, and this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, which served as the catalyst for the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. And Maryland was the first state to legalize marriage equality by referendum, and Montgomery County was the first jurisdiction in Maryland to elect an openly gay official. And
whereas we celebrate the accomplishments and victories of the LGBTQ+ community while raising awareness of the challenges that still exist, such as access to health care, discrimination in employment, housing, military, legal services, immigration, and there remains much work to do in the push for full equality, and we recognize trailblazers of generations before us who championed this fight for civil rights.
And whereas LGBTQ+ residents are an active and visible part of Montgomery County and to contribute to the academic, economic, and social vibrancy of our community, and the LGBTQ+ community in Montgomery County has organized meetings, workshops, events, festivals, and many more other activities to participate in the celebration of Pride Month. And
whereas the LGBTQ+ community is very diverse in terms of individuals, racial identities, age, immigration status, gender expression, and socioeconomic status, and therefore the issues that affect and are important to the LGBTQ+ community are also diverse. And Montgomery County promotes equity across race, gender identity, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic status so that every resident feels safe and supported in our beautifully diverse community.
And whereas your sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression should never be a barrier to equal protection under the law. and civil rights for LGBTQ+ people is the embodiment of the American promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And Montgomery County affirms our commitment to full equality for all LGBTQ+ residents and applauds the efforts of our LGBTQ+ trailblazers. Now, therefore, do we proclaim June 2019 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month.
We're certainly family now.
We are almost done, but first I want to recognize a few members of the LGBTQ community who work tirelessly on our behalf in Annapolis. I'd like to bring up Delegate Bonnie Cullison and Delegate Gabriel Acevero.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank my good friend, Councilmember Evan Glass, for his leadership. I remember when Evan first decided to run for the council. I was there, I was supportive for the same reason that I remain supportive today, because representation matters, and affirmation, which is what today is about, also matters. So I want to thank my good friend, Councilmember Evan Glass. I'd like to thank our county executive, Marc Elrich, our council president, Nancy Navarro, as well as some of my delegation colleagues who I see here, Delegates Lily Chi, Senator Cheryl Kagan, I see Mayor Jeffrey Slavin from the town of Somerset, and one of my good friends who, when I was back in the day an organizer around LGBTQ youth homelessness, she was doing similar work in the DC that I admired, and that is Ruby Corrado from Casa Ruby, for all the work that she's doing. Yes, can we give it up for her? Thank you. And Senator Craig Zucker from District 14 for joining us, Senator Susan Lee from District 16, who's also here as well, and my colleague Delegate Cullison will mention some of our other colleagues who are here with us today. As was mentioned, my name is Gabriel Acevero, and I have the honor of representing the 39th House District here in Montgomery County. I'm so thrilled to be here because as someone who identifies as LGBTQ and who have worked in this space, we know that oftentimes our community is not only marginalized, not only not affirmed, but we see policies that directly impact our lives and impede us from being our best selves and from thriving. And so today, as I mentioned, is about affirmation. It's not about tolerance, it's about seeing our neighbors, our friends, our family members, and saying that we see you, we value you, we want you to be here, and we want your contribution. So thank you very much to everyone. I am proud to present this citation on behalf of the Montgomery County delegation to our Trailblazers today. And let me just reiterate what Councilmember Evan Glass mentioned, which is that we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots. While it was not the start of our movement, it was the impetus for a larger movement that saw the changing of laws, that saw the changing of opinions and views, and that was largely led by LGBTQ people of color, people who oftentimes aren't acknowledged, seen for their contributions, but today we're going to make sure that we're affirming them and recognizing the people who have come before us and whose shoulders we stand on. As someone who now represents this District 39 in Annapolis, I'm really proud of my district for sending me to Annapolis, for seeing in me something more than just someone who is openly gay, but someone who cares deeply about his community and the issues that impact his community. And so that I am testament standing here today that we are not just a welcoming community, but we're affirming one at that, and we must continue to be so, especially given this current climate. I was proud to have been a part of the fight for marriage equality in 2012, and then working on transgender equality, but recognizing that there's still work to do. We still have our youth that are homeless. We still have our seniors who are mistreated by home care providers and in senior care facilities for being who they are. We have our trans and gender non-conforming siblings who oftentimes exist in the shadows of a life in our communities who we don't think about and don't care for. Today is about all of them. Today is about our community as a whole. And it's about a recognition that we still have work to do to realize that community that Dr. King called a beloved community, where we're all welcome, we're all affirmed, and we all have a place at this table. So with that, I'm proud to recognize on behalf of the Montgomery County delegation, Mr. Armando True, for being named the 2019 Montgomery County LGBTQ Blazer, for his commitment to using all media to tell the stories of LGBTQ people in seeking to achieve social justice. It's presented on the 10th day of June 2019, and let me just say, when we talk about our communities and understanding our communities, a big part of it is the narrative. And what is so critical in this time is that we should have the freedom to tell our narratives and to tell our stories and lived experiences and for people to understand them. And Armando is a living example of that, and why it's so important that we have more LGBTQ people in media, because our stories deserve to be told, and we deserve to be heard. And so for that, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd also like to recognize Ezra Town, who was here earlier, for his work advancing the equality of LGBTQ people through advocacy, support, through advocacy, support, collaboration, and empowerment in our legal and political communities. It is so critical that we recognize the work of people who are not just advancing our community, but actively advocating for them. And so for that, on behalf of the Montgomery County delegation, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Acevero. Thank you, Councilmember Glass, and all members of the council and the county executive for this amazing day. I do want to recognize that there are a few other elected officials that represent all the different kinds of bodies that we have here, including the City Council of Rockville, Beryl Feinberg, and then we have representatives from our several of our council members, our Congress members, and that's Patrick McCarthy from Senator Van Hollen's office, Megan Glasser from Representative Trone's office, and Vicky Garcia from Representative Sarbanes' office. So we thank them for doing that. And I know that,
Debbie Dwyer is here from the Circuit Court, the first openly gay member of the bench in Montgomery County.
Thank you so much. You heard from Councilmember Glass what these amazing Trailblazers have done, so I won't repeat their stories. We do want to give them a proclamation and affirm and recognize them from the state delegation. And I just want to say that it's very personal. When I came to Montgomery County in 1981, I was terrified, absolutely terrified, that someone would find out that I was a lesbian and that I could potentially lose my job, that I could potentially not work doing the work that I loved, which was teaching. So it was go from there to where I can serve as an openly lesbian member of the House of Delegates of Maryland. And this does not happen without the work of all of these folks that we are recognizing today, all of you who are here, and I want to thank you for changing my life and making me able to be true to myself.
Yeah.
So, with Trailblazer for his commitment to help create a more inclusive and welcoming community as the first openly gay elected official in Maryland. Rich Madaleno? Okay. For being named a Trailblazer for his commitment to help create inclusive policy founded in equality and justice as an openly gay legislature. Kathlyn Pinot, for being named a Trailblazer for her work to advance the hopes and dreams of Latino and LGBTQ people as an advocate and civil rights leader. And Ingrid Duran, for her recognition of being named a Trailblazer for her work to advance the hopes and dreams of LGBTQ people as a corporate and political leader. And we do want to recognize Barbara Meckleton, who is the clerk of the court. Barbara, you here? Thank you.
And has everyone been recognized? Senator Susan Lee, Delegate Elrich, Senator Craig Zucker, awesome. We're not going to belabor this. It is hot in here, so we're going to take the dance party outside so we can do a little flag raising. Before we leave, there is water. There are desserts over here. And then also, this is the kickoff. There is a month long of events. I hope to see you at any or all of them. A little bit of something for everybody. And last but not least, happy Pride, everybody. Thank you all for being here.